Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Ted again. Thank you for tuning in again to another episode. Today is March the 10th, 2023. It's a Friday, and once again, welcome back. I hope today this will be a kind of a fun, interesting one, and it could save a life, honestly. This one is deadly poisons in your home, okay? Before we even start, I wanted to show this. This is the number to the Poison Control Centers. This is a national number, and you can see available 24 hours every day because there's no time of day when kids can't get into things and even people can get into things. So here's the number. Any state, when I work in rural America, it's the same as right here in Utah, 800-222-1222. Memorize that or have it on your fridge or something like that because that's a good number. We'll come back to that at the end. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions here. We're going to go off of this, okay? I'm going to ask you 5 questions. See if you can answer these, and I'll have a bonus question, okay? Number 1, some of the most toxic or potentially deadly chemicals ever invented are in your home right now. The answer to that is true. Number 2, any substance you or your child can swallow, including your daily medications and even just plain tap water, can be a poison. Only the dose or quantity swallowed determines if it is harmless or a poison or a helpful medication. And that is true. Anything you swallow or your kid can swallow, if they do it in large enough amounts, and some it takes hardly any, can be poisonous to your child. Even plain water can be harmful. Sometimes you'll hear these hazing incidents where college students are forced to drink, a gallon or 2 gallons or 3 gallons of water. That's too much water, and it makes the salt in your blood concentration go down. Your brain swells, and these kids have died from just plain water, right? So that can happen. And same with medications. What grandma takes for her high blood pressure or grandpa takes for pain, one pill can kill a grandchild. So yes, any substances can be a poison. Only the dose or the quantity determines if it's a medication or something helpful like water or a poison. We'll talk about this. Number 3, of all the prescription medications, what is the number 1 accidental overdose killer of children? What's the number 1 prescription medication that accidentally kills children? And I think it might be surprising when I tell you the answer. You'll go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Number 4, after well, there's the answer. Painkillers, there's the answer. And we call them opioids because they come from the opium plant, the poppy plant, and they call them opioids. So there's the answer to number 3. After opioid prescription pain pills, what is the next most common accidental chemical that kills Americans? Guess what it is? I'll just tell you. Carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide. People don't understand. You can't light a stove or something, exhaust from a car with the garage door down. It kills people. It's the next thing most common next to pain medications. Carbon monoxide. Who would guess that? The last question. Most of the plants in your home or yard, if accidentally eaten by a child, are poisonous or deadly. Most of the plants in your house or yard, if a kid accidentally eats them, are poisonous or deadly. Guess what the answer is? False. Not true. Most plants are not deadly. There's a couple that are, but you have to go up in the mountains and find them usually. There's one that could be around your yard. Maybe we'll talk about that on a different day. But plants are usually not that they can make your kid get sore, irritated mucous membranes, and they can cause itching and cause all kinds of problems, but they won't kill your child in your home or your house. Number one that everybody thinks of is poinsettias. Poinsettias are not poisonous. They're poinsettias, not poisonous settas. Right? That's a dumb joke. Okay, here's a bonus question. Name 5 deadly poisons likely in your garage right now. We'll do that one at the end. 5 deadly things in your garage right now that are poisonous. Some of them, it takes 1 small teaspoon. And a child, if you think about it, if a child gets even a small amount on their hand and licks it off, that could be a teaspoon. Some of you wouldn't even guess, okay? So let's go into this. Some of the most toxic or potentially deadly chemicals ever invented are in your home right now. Guess what? One of the most common toxins that everybody takes, I took some this morning. Guess what they are? Tylenol. Tylenol, you have to take a pretty big dose. Tylenol can be deadly. It's the number one reason people have liver failure next to maybe alcohol. But alcohol takes a long, long time. You really got to be a strong alcoholic before you're going to poison your liver to the point where you need like a liver transport plant or it will kill you. But Tylenol can kill you with one overdose. And an overdose is about 8 to 10 grams for an adult. So 500 milligram tablets, those extra strength, 2 of those would be 1 gram. So if 8 grams can kill you, 16 extra strength Tylenol could kill a large adult. A child, it could be much, much less. So you always follow the directions on Tylenol. And if you're not sure, call Poison Control, that number, right? 800-222-1222. But just follow the directions on the label and they're safe. They're totally fine. They're things we take every day, and yet you increase the dose significantly and it can be a poison. Guess what else is? Tylenol, aspirin. Aspirin can be. Guess what another one is? Oil of wintergreen. And what's oil of wintergreen? Bengay, icy hot, some of those ointments that you put on, they smell like wintergreen. 1 teaspoon of that in a child's mouth. And, it smells kind of good. You can imagine a kid could easily put a teaspoon in their mouth. They taste horrible. They'd probably spit it out. But what if they get just a tiny amount? 1 teaspoon of oil of wintergreen is the equivalent of about 20 to 30 aspirin. That's enough to kill a child. Oil of wintergreen or Bengay, icy hot, any of those kind of ointments that you put on for arthritis, they go on your skin. It's basically just aspirin that goes through your skin into your joints, makes them feel better. It's like taking an aspirin by mouth, but you do it through the skin. It absorbs through the ointment through your skin. Tylenol, aspirin, oil of wintergreen. There's another one called camphor. It's a thing they use for like bug bites and irritated skin. You get in the weeds and you get some irritated skin. You can put some camphor. Camphor has 2 ingredients. One is camphor, one is phenol. Guess what camphor by itself can do? And guess what phenol by itself can do? It can cause seizures in children or adults. Not very much. It doesn't take much at all. So here's these things that we buy right over the counter. You probably have some of these or all of them in your cupboard right now. Camphor can cause seizures in children from 2 ingredients. So there's just 4 of the most toxic things we've ever invented. They're made to help us. But again, if you get too much or you don't take it like it's written on the label, it can be deadly. And children, they don't know how to read and they don't have any judgment. They have incredible mobility and they can grab anything and put it right in their mouth, but they have no judgment. And so accidental poisonings happen all the time. But the most common one, like we talked about, that one, number 2, any substance you or your child can swallow, including your daily medications, or even just plain water can be a poison. We talked about water. Some of the most deadly prescription medications, diabetes medicine. What mom or dad or grandma or grandpa take for diabetes can make a child's blood sugar, 1 pill can make a child's sugar drop to the point where they'll have seizures and they can die. So diabetes medicines, we always say grandmas and grandpas, and I'm a grandpa, I've got 12 grandkids, keep your medicines locked up or certainly out of the reach of your grandchildren, because without even intending to, your very medication that you take for something good could be a harmful or deadly to a little child. Okay, so diabetes medicine, high blood pressure medication can be deadly. Antidepressants, there's several kinds, but some of them 1 pill could kill a child. So you keep these things out of the reach. They're usually the older antidepressants like tricyclic antidepressants, but kids can get sick from any antidepressant with 1 pill, because what is a dose for us to help us is toxic or poisonous to a child. The most common accidental overdose, pain pills. Mom, dad, family members, grandparents, pain pills. What helps our pain, 1 pill to a little 18-month-old, like somebody crawling on the floor, 1 pain pill can kill them. They'll stop breathing. After opioid prescription pills, What is the next most common accidental chemical that kills? Carbon monoxide. We talked about this. Okay, here's something I thought was so interesting. I think you guys will find this interesting. In the year 1898, so that was what, 125 years ago. 125 years ago, the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company, and 125 years ago, the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company was not an American company, it was a German company. German pharmaceutical company. They invented two chemicals that we know right now in 1898, 125 years ago in a German chemical company. One is aspirin. We still use aspirin to this day. It's one of the most common, safe medications. There's a bunch of uses for it. We'll talk about that maybe another time. Guess what else they invented in 1898? The same year they invented aspirin, they invented, look at this, heroin. Heroin was invented by the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company, a German company, in 1898. The same year they invented aspirin. I don't even know what lysitol or salafin. Nobody uses those. I don't even know what they are. But look what it says for heroin. What does it say? The sedative for coughs. Yeah, if you take heroin, it'll help your cough, and it'll help a whole bunch of other things. You remember those movies? They have the old country guy driving around in his little wagon, and he's got this little bottle of elixir. It cures what ails you, no matter what it is. Look what it was. Heroin. Doesn't that look like an old bottle from about 100 years ago? Back then, they didn't have needles. They didn't have hypodermic needles where you can put them under your skin and inject it. People would drink this. And, heroin, and look, you can even see Farbenbracken, whatever, that's German, and heroin, and they would sell this, and it cures anything. It cures coughs, makes you sleepy, so insomnia, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're bored, heroin works for all of those things, right? It was a life-altering medication. In 1898, they sold it over the counter, and guys would sell it on their little buggies. Little did we know the problems it could. The problem with heroin, it works on the central nervous system, cause pain to go down. It can make you sleepy. It can make you feel better, not anxious, not depressed. The problem is, as you use heroin, the receptors in your brain that heroin combines with to make it do its chemical effects, you need more and more. You start making more and more receptors in your brain. Maybe you had 2 or 3 receptors, let's say. After you use heroin for enough days or weeks, you might have 10 or 20 receptors. And so what do you need? You need more heroin to get the same effect. And then you tag more heroin, and then you get 100 receptors. So you need even more heroin to get the same effect. And if you don't get the heroin, you start going through withdrawals. You get abdominal pains and nausea and diarrhea, and you feel horrible. And you get what we call addicted, right? That's why I think it was 1920, they started making this by prescription only. So for about 20 years or so, you could get this over the counter, or some guy in his buggy out on the country, curing this, or selling this elixir that cures anything. But then they realized, wait a minute, we're causing more problems than we're solving. In fact, look at this. Look at this one. Sears Roebuck once sold Bayer heroin, right? Look at that. Heroin, American flag. It's the American way, right? That's maybe more true now today than we realize. Look at this. Heroin was once used to treat children's coughs and adults, certainly. But again, there's more problems now. Now they've got needles and people are injecting it. When you take heroin by mouth, it goes into your stomach, it goes through your intestines, then it goes through your liver. So maybe you drink this much, but only this much gets in your bloodstream. Still causes problems, like we said, addiction, intolerance, and everything else. But when you inject it and you take this much, you get this much, and it goes to your brain, and people stop breathing. That's why heroin is so deadly. But it was a common thing. Look, here's a common ad they used to have. Bayer pharmaceutical products, aspirin, heroin. Look at these two kids. It's my heroin. No, it's mine. I'll bet they were fighting over it, right? Maybe dad were fighting for it too. These are actual advertisements about heroin. So see, we learn as we go. Some things that we used to use, maybe they're not so good anymore. Okay. Most of the plants in your house or yard, if accidentally eaten by a child, are poisonous or deadly? Not true. They can make your mouth irritated, they make you a stomach ache and make you nauseated, vomiting, but they won't poison you to death. They won't kill you. There are a couple, maybe we'll do one on just that. Now, here's our bonus question. We're almost done. Name 5 deadly poisons in your garage likely right now. Guess what they are? One of them, obviously, gasoline. If you drink gasoline, number one, it tastes horrible, so you're not going to get very much. Your kid may accidentally drink it, though, thinking it's colorful, it's orange, it looks like it's something you could drink. The problem is, what gets in their stomach, a little amount isn't going to hurt them too much, but it will, okay, let's say you take your hand like this, and you put a drop of water on your hand. You'll get that little bubble or that little drop of water. It'll stay right there. If you do the same thing with a thing of gasoline, what will it do? It won't stay in a bubble. It will diffuse. It's a lot less viscous or thick. Like water is less viscous than pancake syrup. Pancake syrup is thick, more viscous. Water is less viscous than it's less thick than pancake syrup. Well, gasoline is the least viscous of all, and it will just, what was on your tongue or the back of your throat can get into your lungs and pull water in from your lungs, and these kids can suffocate from their own fluids. Not from the gasoline, not the quantity of gasoline, but one drop of gasoline can pull in a liter of fluids. That's why gasoline's so deadly. It causes lung problems, right? It causes fluid in your lungs. Okay, another one, kind of related, paint thinner, right? Sometimes we have paint thinner laying around and you've got to think, wait a minute, a kid might get in there and think, hey, this is something. So just be aware, gasoline, paint thinner. Here's one, look at this one. Have you guys ever seen this in your garage just laying around? Antifreeze. I am not kidding you. When my sons were in high school, one of their friends said, if your car breaks down in the middle of the desert, you could drink the windshield washer fluid because, it's blue and water's blue, right? We've seen all the pictures. The water's blue. Drink it. No, not true. Antifreeze is deadly. It's one of those substances where 1 teaspoon could kill you. It turns into a poison in your blood, and 1 teaspoon could kill a child, probably half a teaspoon. And you can imagine, let's say you spilled some antifreeze on the ground in your garage. Oh, I'll clean that up later. And when your 1-year-old granddaughter or grandson goes out there and gets it on their hands and they lick it, antifreeze tastes good. It's sweet. It's sweet to the taste. So the kids will lick it off. Well, it's not hard to imagine a half a teaspoon on a baby's hand. They lick it off. That could be deadly to a child. So antifreeze, no. Antifreeze is deadly. Here's another one. Windshield washer fluid. This is the one that the high school kids said, oh, you can drink this. It's blue. No, this is methanol. Antifreeze is ethylene glycol. It will ruin your kidneys and it will kill you. This one, methanol, windshield washer fluid, it will make you blind and then kill you. And the same thing, about a teaspoon is all that's required to kill a little child or less. And same thing, this one doesn't taste as sweet as antifreeze, but it can kill a child. Very small quantities. So let's see. Gasoline, paint thinner, antifreeze, windshield washer fluid. One more, pesticides. Pesticides in your garage. The good news is they smell horrible, but if a kid gets into pesticides and gets even a small amount, again, they'll make fluid in their lungs and it can be deadly. So these are just some things around your garage you may know. And these are some things, common medications we use every day. They should be kept up away from kids because accidentally kids can get them. Pain pills, it's not hard to imagine. You use a pain pill and you just set it down on the table. Then you go and sleep because you got a headache or something. They're fine. I wrote pain pills a lot for patients that had chronic pain, not too much. And we used to use these things a lot. Now they're blaming doctors and patients for the opioid epidemic. Well, I never wrote heroin. And even if I did, nobody would take it. Heroin injected will kill you, but we don't write heroin. We use pain medications for pain. If you have surgery or you have some horrible painful condition that you need some treatment for pain once in a while, we write those all the time, and they don't cause people to be, they don't take them to the point where they're going to quit breathing, and we wouldn't write enough for them to get addicted. So they are a useful medication that's kind of gotten misused by, bad advertising and heroin and fentanyl and all these other scary ones, which nobody uses. So anyway, hopefully these will help you. And one more time, let me just show you The number that everybody should know, have it on your fridge, poison control. 800, it's free, 222-1222. That might save a life. One time, my daughter, when she was just little, she was like one, maybe 1.5, we were sitting on the front yard. She accidentally, we look over and she's got some of those lawn mushrooms. She had one and she'd been chewing it and swallowed it. And of course, you're thinking, okay, first of all, that's gross. But number two, mushrooms, it's going to kill her. We called poison control. They said, no, if it's in your yard, it's fine. If you're not up in the mountain, we'll maybe talk about mushrooms another time. She'll be fine. We didn't even have to take her in. We didn't do anything. And she was fine, didn't die. It's called Chlorophyllum molybdenum is the genus and species of the common lawn mushroom. But like we said, most of the things growing in your yard or plants you have in your house, it's not going to hurt them. She did fine. She's doing great. She's got 4 kids of her own now that are darling, and she's got to keep them from eating lawn mushrooms now. So, right, what goes around comes around. Karma, right, as parents. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful and kind of a fun one. Maybe some interesting things you learned, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.